Welcome to the Tanya Acker Show. I am so glad that you are here today because the great Melba Moore is here today. She is a living legend who remains as fresh and funny and gorgeous and vibrant as ever. We talked about so many things. I had a really great time in this conversation. I think you'll enjoy it. We talked about her upbringing and the incredible distance she's traveled from where she came from and the platform on which she now sits. We talk about her illustrious career. I mean, she was on Broadway, she was in Hair, Les Mis, she won a Tony, she's performed at the Met Opera, she's performed at the Olympia in Paris. She had a TV variety show. She was the summer replacement for the great Carol Burnett. And she is just a joy, Melba Moore. So I hope you enjoy our conversation, which traverses a lot of ground. And I think you'll like it. And I also hope you subscribe to my podcast. I am here right now with the one and only, the great Melba Moore. Ms. Moore, thank you for joining me today. This is such an honor.
Pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
You come from a musical family. So perhaps in that sense, the seeds of the icon that you are were planted when you were a little kid. Tell us what it was like growing up in a family where music was so important.
Well, first, I have to tell you what it was like growing up as an African-American female, which means more than likely your family is going to be broken. That's important because it's the first community that you have. My mother did not marry my father. They sowed the seeds, and I'm here. My father's name is Teddy Hill. You can Google him because he was very important in the big band era. So I had those seeds. And my mother was a professional singer. She worked with his band first. But she was a single mother, and she was from, nobody ever heard of this place, Pipe Shop, Alabama. But she moved to Manhattan, so I got to be born in Manhattan. But then she married my stepfather, who was a musician, who had a son and a daughter, but he lived in Newark, New Jersey. So we moved there. So actually, I didn't know I had a voice until I was about 10 years old, which is very late when you're the instrument. But that's because he was a piano player. He had a son and a daughter, so now I had a sister and a brother. So we all learned to play the piano at a younger age. And that's when the music began. I needed to start that way because otherwise you're going to think it was just a normal family where everybody sang and you had music and you had a whole family and all of these things that nurture you so that you can succeed in life. And it didn't come for me until a little bit later.
So what was that like when you were younger? I mean, you've described a lot of moving around, a parent who wasn't, it seems, very present. Your mother had to do the very heavy lift on her own. How was that? And do you have siblings?
I do now. I have half-siblings and step-siblings, or what we now call the blended family.
But when you were young, it was just you and your mom?
Well, she was trying to take care of her mother, who had strokes, so she couldn't speak. So it was me, my grandmother, and the lady who really raised me. And that's important because she was illiterate. She lived like she was still a slave. But and she was from the backwoods of North Carolina. Like she was an orphan. So I can't even say that she was raised by her parents were sharecroppers because she didn't have parents. I'm saying that's important because that's who I am. But why that's important and why I'm laughing, that's why I have a Tony Award, because basically she's the character I played as Ludi Bell Gussie Mae Jenkins in the musical Pearlie that gave me a Tony Award.
In Pearlie, it was inspired, this character was inspired by the real life person who you describe as having raised you. Some people really can't appreciate what life was like for lots of folks not that long ago. My mother is from Clarksdale, Mississippi. She grew up in the Delta, and it was just a really different time. And I think that it's all the more a testament to how you have not just survived, but thrived, like risen to the top. And now, you sit on a beautiful perch. How do you describe, you've lived and seen this big chunk of life and history and American history and changes in music. What encourages you the most? What makes you the most optimistic about things?
First of all, I'm a born-again Christian, and it's Easter. That's very important to us. We take that very seriously, and actually, that's my occupation now, so that's really first. But as you give me that wonderful question, and now I have the privilege of sitting on a perch and kind of looking back, I feel like artists are optimistic. We don't really go by reality. We say, okay, I'm really down in the dumps. So let's say, how can I get up this time? And that's our lifestyle that we keep trying to get up. And I think it's possible because music and the arts do that to you. They kind of daily kind of reinvent you. You're obligated to feed your imagination, if I could say that.
In feeding your imagination, you're also thinking about and imagining or visioning things that haven't yet happened. So even when you look at your career, you were one of the first, if not the first, I believe, weren't you the first African-American woman to host a network variety show? I mean, you really made some television history at a time when there were not a lot of folks who looked like us on the television. I mean, it was just not a thing.
There were no black couples. It was Clifton Davis and myself. And we were sort of like the Black Sonny and Cher. Is that before your time, too?
Thank you for thinking that, though. Thank you for. I appreciate you so much. I had Sonny and Cher dolls. I know. Thank you for. I love you now even more, Melba Moore. And you were a couple at the time. You were a couple.
We were a couple, and that was extremely important on a couple of different levels. First of all, neither one of us had done TV before. So we didn't know what we were doing, but we watched TV. We know that, first of all, it was in the category of comedy. And you had to be careful with, making jokes. At least we thought you did. So we had a couple of people around us that were just good, natural comics and who could help guide us if something was in not good taste. That was extremely important to us because there was nobody going before us to make those decisions. So that's just one of the issues. A wardrobe, I would wear my afro.
I saw some clips. It was beautiful. Really beautiful.
And the lady that did my hair back then, she does Gladys's hair now. That's why Gladys is always looking so good. Her name is Blondie Brown.
Gladys Knight. You're talking about Gladys Knight?
Yes, I'm sorry, yes. I act like everybody knows Gladys, don't
we
they?
We do. I'm sure. If they don't, they'll learn. They know. They'll know now. I looked at clips of the show that you did with Clifton Davis, and you had big natural hair, and I think that was very of the moment at the time. But did you get pushback from the network or the studio about being natural? They didn't care about that.
They didn't know what that was. They were all white.
They were just like, it's a different hairstyle. Who knew? Who knew?
That's interesting.
What was it like working with your partner, hosting a show together, especially when both of you were newer to TV?
Well, first of all, we were in love, so that made it interesting. And then we had not worked together before. He was working. The reason he was called to do it is because he had gone from being in the chorus of Hello, Dolly, which then starred Pearl Bailey and Cab Calloway. So you see the environment was just exploding with breakthroughs. Mm-hmm. But he went on right after that to do the co-starring role in the Broadway show Two Gentlemen of Verona. So his career was just exploding. But we had not worked together. We hadn't sung together. We hadn't done anything together. Well, we had done a few things together, but those were private.
We'll keep those private things private. So was it tough? Was it tough working with somebody you were in love with?
I don't know if I thought that was the issue. It's just that everything was new. Everything. But it was very exciting. Mom's Mabley was the landlord.
How long did you were a substitute for the Carol Burnett show, is that right, for the summer?
How about that?
I mean, that is such a big platform to launch.
Plus, it kind of says what an incredible person Carol Burnett was and is to give us that platform.
She was involved in making sure that that your show ended up in that space?
Yes,
okay.
That was her spot. Yes.
Another one for Carol Burnett. Yeah. But,
she's an incredible everything, of course.
I think what's also incredible, again, going back to all the varied things that you've done in your career, it is the 55th anniversary of the musical Hair, iconic musical. Everybody knows Hair, even like younger folks. I'm sure you know Hair. If you don't, you'll know it now. And you replaced Diane Keaton, which is interesting for all kinds of reasons. I mean, even today, when a character of color, a Black person, is cast in a role that people have imagined, in their minds as being played by someone white. There's some, not universal. I think most people don't care. But, sometimes there's some like loud, angry pushback. You replaced Diane Keaton, which, as I recall, or to my understanding, was the first time a Black actress had replaced a white actress. Was there any pushback or fallout for you from that?
It broke all of the rules. Hair is where I learned to wear a natural.
Oh, you're saying, I'm sorry, you're saying that because it was Hair, everybody was open to all kinds of things.
Yes. So I'm saying I was blessed to be in that kind of a bubble, really.
Describe it. So what did that bubble feel like? And how was it different from like other experiences outside of it?
Well, first of all, it was my first not only Broadway show, but play, period. I never did anything in theater. So it was like being on another planet.
In what way? How was it different?
Well, there was no racism. I mean, even these days, if you're Black, you know it. Not only because you're with your culture, but we're still in a different area. We kind of know what that is, and things are open, but they're not equal. But let me give you an example. Diana left the show, and they'd had a lot of different people doing the role, and they weren't happy with them, so they kept changing them. So this Black woman who played Abraham Lincoln in the show, which will give people who don't know anything about Hair an example of how they just broke all the rules. How you have a Black, dark-skinned woman playing Abraham Lincoln? You know it's going to be a parody or a joke. So she said, how come y'all don't let Melba try out for it? Jim Rado and Jerry Ragnar said, well, you know what? And they're white, of course. We didn't think of that. So they said, sure, she can try out for it. So they rehearsed me, let me do some matinees, and it went well, so that's how I got the role. But that's the kind of environment that we were in. You could suggest and try anything. And
people were just open. Do you think...
Well, not people. I'm talking about the cast and the production of Hair now. That bubble that we lived and worked in, that family that we were. Then if, they decided to put it out, then we get to what you're saying, whether people are going to accept it or not.
Did they accept it?
Yeah.
They did. They did.
Thank God they did.
They accepted it. When you look at all of these things that you've done in your career, you sang at the New York Met Opera, first non-operatic pop R&B star to do so. Same at the Olympia in Paris. What's the thing of which you're most proud? Like, what is something about that makes you feel particularly triumphant?
You're so sweet.
You're so sweet to say that.
That happened because at the time, I was married to a man who's just a genius entrepreneur. And that's the magical combination, the artist and the business aspect of it. He had an idea. Why would we take you to the Met? He's not like a highly educated, he's just brilliant and creative and proactive. So he put together the financial team and the business team to make it happen. That's why it happened. Excuse me, that's half of why it happened. What you're saying about me is only, the front part that we see and we know. But the other part of it is that other genius and those other people that have those talents to bring it together and allow you to have the platform. That's why it happened.
Oh.
That's why I can't be proud. I can be grateful.
But I think you also just hit on something that's so important, especially for artists. It's about having the right kind of team. Like you said some words that I have to repeat. It's about being proactive. It's about being entrepreneurial. It's about having people around you that you can trust. In your case, this was, you said your husband, your partner in life. When you're in the business and in the business that you're in, there's so many people around, right? Like lots of people who want to bask in the shine. And sometimes they are not like, they are not like reciprocating. They're just, some baskers, one-way baskers.
Or is it taken?
How do you discern, what are the things that you look for when you're determining, who's going to be in your circle and who you can trust?
That's a difficult one for me, too, because I made some really bad choices, but somehow I wound up with him, both as a manager and as a husband. I'm not sure I know how to counsel somebody on that. I really made some bad choices, but I had some really good people. I'm not sure. And I don't really know how.
If somebody says that they've never made a bad choice or a mistake, they're lying, I think.
Right? You can tell by that.
Yeah, right, exactly. If you say you never made any bad choices or mistakes, you're probably not telling the truth. So let me ask you a different question. What's your advice for how to recover from a bad choice? Because everybody's made them. Some people will make, will make some more in the future.
First of all, I think you have to go to God. I'm just prejudiced that way because there's so many times when I'm saying, artistry, but I'm telling you what God created or what I believe he did, that you're in a way so that you have an attitude, well, okay, I know this is life. It's not a movie. What can I do to sit down and gather myself and see what do I have? And I think you need to go to some people that you can trust to get their perspective of you and who you are, because you can't tell all that by yourself. You might not have nobody at all, so you have to try to decide what do you have, and do you have a way to make a living to feed yourself and clothe yourself and put a roof over your head? You need those things first. If you really want to do this, do you have some ways that you can do it for free? You have to be able to give yourself to something, and you can get something back, and that can start to tell you what it is you want and which way you should go. And in the meantime, start investigating maybe some people you see around you or see above you that have what you think is good management, to see if you can find out what that contains, and you can learn some things. Maybe you don't know anything. I'm saying maybe you don't really know anything, or you feel like you don't. You can start from scratch somehow.
Oh, that's powerful. So when you look back at your career and, all of the people you've met, the artists you've worked with, is there someone who made a particularly strong impact? Now, we know that you made an impact on lots of folks, not the least of which is Gladys Knight, because she got your hair lady. But is there someone...
Because I love Gladys. And everybody that, we can think of, I'm their fan. I got a call from Patti LaBelle. I thought I was going to faint.
Did she send you some pie?
Is that Melba? I said, is this Patti?
Did Patti LaBelle send you some pie?
Wait a minute. She said, yeah. What you screaming for? No. No, she know I'm on a diet.
How do you stay in shape?
No, but,
you look very svelte, by the way. You're really wearing that white jacket. What's your plan for staying in shape? How do you stay in shape?
Stay in the gym. But I've always done that. In the beginning, when I didn't know I couldn't do this, I wanted to be a dancer or an athlete. I just had that kind of mentality. My mother gave me dancing lessons when I was about 5, 6 years old, and it never left me. So when I was coming through college and high school and everything, I would take classes at it was called Clark Center. And so I took classes with people who danced with Alvin Ailey and Arthur Mitchell. And George Faison is still my buddy, my pal. Of course, he was in the dance part of the chorus of Pearly. And he explained to me what a Tony Award was. So I just love that kind of athletic. So I just love it. So I just keep doing it. Now I understand it's my physical therapy.
You still dance? You still dancing?
No, but I work out.
How often do you work out? I'm getting all into the weeds because you look amazing. I think that it's a recipe for life, to maintain.
It is.
It's so how often do you work out? Just go into the weeds a little bit. Every day you do something. What do you do?
Well, as you start to go into senior, the knees go. So you got to keep stretching because you start shrinking. I'm not shrinking yet.
No, you're not shrinking. There will be no shrinking of Ms. Melba Moore. I understand you've got all kinds of things planned. There's more Melba Moore coming up. Tell us what's next for you.
Well, I have a current album called Imagine, and it's had a couple of singles released from it. One's called So in Love. One is called Imagine. It's a beautiful video. And the other one is called Take Her Picture Down. You can tell what that's going to be about, right?
That's funny.
We're going to make a bonus to this album by a wonderful young songwriter, producer, singer by the name of Chantel Hampton. I can't tell you what the song is because she's made it it sounds like a brand new, you're not going to recognize it when you hear it. And the way she's producing my voice, you're not going to think it's me, that I could sing like that. But in the song, you'll hear the hook, and you say, oh, no. You're going to know the song. Well, I'm just giving you clues.
It's like a little tease.
That's part of the, that's going to be like a bonus added to this album that's currently out. So I just had a meeting with her this morning in Zoom. So we're getting ready to go into the studio the beginning of next month to add that to the album.
Back into the studio. That is so exciting. What is your favorite thing about performing? What's your favorite thing about doing what you do?
Getting scared to death, I think, before I go on.
Interesting. You get stage fright before you go out?
Terribly. I don't know what the solution is. I mean, I do everything to prepare. I know that was part of it. So that by the time I get out and go get on, look at everybody and everything, it kind of goes away because I know I've done everything I can do. It's going to be okay. But I can't keep it from going away. I don't know why. After
all of these performances, you still get it. Maybe, do you think it's a way that it forces you to stay fresh? Because if you're nervous about not doing well, then you really focus on doing well. And if you're as good as you are, then, maybe it helps you.
I think that after you've been doing it for so long, the body, it's very fragile. So whatever you had yesterday, you might not have it today. So pay attention. Maybe that's it. But it's been, I don't know. It's always been that way.
Who do you like? Who are the artists that you like today? Who inspires you?
I can't say that they inspire me except to say, oh my God, there's so many. And the artists, what people just pass off, we used to call riffing. I just want to tell everybody that everybody can't do that. It's just that they've grown up hearing it. We've mixed it into all the different cultures. And so it's common, you hear it. But so to me, I hear just an increase in the type of artistry that we do, a lot of the whispering. I know how to belt now, but now I got to learn how to whisper. That's not easy. When you whisper, you like this, you're hyperventilating, you get dizzy. I just want, and I'm telling you the truth. So, but that's one of the reasons. There's a few people I can tell you that I know are incredible, but I can't say they inspire me. I'm inspired by the generation and how they do things, and how they use the technical tools that we have right now, and how they make in some cases with the technology so easy because you can do a pass and then say if it's for the background, and you just plug it in there. You don't have to keep doing it. So I think the technology, and if you can stay up on your craft and everything, you can still continue to do it. Because of the internet, you have so many different lanes. You don't have to just be in one lane because there's only a few record companies, and as they should, they pander to who's coming next, the younger generation. And so then there's no room for you. You can have your own lane now. You don't have to quit because you're not a teenager anymore. There's lots of good things that are incredible about this generation. Plus, they can now produce me and make me relevant so that I can still probably sing the way I sing, but they change the music around me and they do different mixes on it so that it fits into everybody's category. So I like the time that I'm living in right now.
It's a great time. It's not a perfect time, but I think that we are on an upswing. And I'm definitely on an upswing because I just talked to Melba Moore. Thank you so much, Ms. Melba Moore, for being here. I appreciate your time so much, and I do hope you'll come back.
Thank you.